Welcome to Hope for Your Pelvic Floor, the podcast where we explore how you can transform the way you move, feel, and live. I'm Claire Sparrow, Pilates teacher, educator, best-selling author, and your voice of hope. Today, I want to take you behind the scenes of the whole body pelvic health method, the foundation stone of why we're here, why I'm here, what it actually is, why it's different from the old-fashioned pelvic floor advice you might have been given, and how it could be the missing piece of your healing journey. Whether you're dealing with prolapse, leaking when you laugh or sneeze, or you're constantly feeling tense and tight down there, this method is for you. So let's dive in. Before we dive into today's topic, I wanted to share that it's officially 3 months since I quietly started the Hope for Your Pelvic Floor podcast. I wasn't even sure if anybody would listen or if I would have enough to say to keep going and doing the podcast. Well, needless to say, I've loved every minute of it and have so much to say. In fact, I actually finished season 1 without even realizing I got that far. And I'm already here. This is season 2, episode 2. I honestly can't believe it. And I've got the entire season mapped out. I have so much to share with you. And secret, I've practically mapped out the entire rest of the year. So, I definitely have something to say. And I've also been really blown away and moved actually by how many of you have tuned in, how many of you have said, oh, I've shared it with this person and that person, and that you've taken the time to give such incredible and supportive feedback on all of the episodes that I've done so far. So I really wanted to start today just by saying thank you. I'm really, really grateful and honored that you would take the time to listen to the podcast and share it, and also take the time to digest what it means to you, what I am here sharing. So yeah, thank you. That's all I wanted to start with today. And you can find the podcast. So obviously, wherever you are now listening, you can find it, but it's mainly Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So hi on YouTube. You can actually see me speaking into the computer screen if you join on YouTube. And you can subscribe to my absolutely completely free whole body pelvic health app. On the app, it's like the one-stop shop resource center for everything whole body pelvic health and hope for your pelvic floor. So you can access free classes in there. You can go straight to the YouTube. It's got everything, blogs, the works. So if you need to like deep dive and learn more about your pelvic health, that is the place. And it's free and it's just in the app stores, whichever, whether you're Apple or Android, no prejudice here. You can get the app in either place, and it's just called Whole Body Pelvic Health. And you'll see, if you're on YouTube, you can see my little curly pelvis logo. You'll see that. That's what it looks like. All right, so let's dive into today's topic. Why the old approach to pelvic floor rehabilitation exercise? Why is that not working? So let's ask that obvious question. Why aren't Kegels enough? So for years, I mean decades really, the standard advice for pelvic floor issues, no matter what they are, has been just do standard strengthening exercises. I've said it before, you can go back and listen to why Kegels are bad for you, and I go into depth there. I'm just kind of touching on it briefly today. But here's the thing, those pelvic floor kind of standard isolated squeeze, they're really just such a tiny part. Your pelvic floor muscles, in fact, are only a tiny part of a very big picture. So those isolated muscles focusing on squeezing and contractions might feel for you like you're doing something helpful. But if your posture, breathing, and movement habits are not supporting your pelvic floor, you're just kind of spinning your wheels, And I'm sure listening, you're going, oh, that's me. For many of you, me included, you do the thing you're told to do, and then it kind of just doesn't go anywhere. It's not very reliable, it's not sustainable, and it's not helping you for the long-term function of your pelvic floor. And that's because pelvic floor doesn't work in isolation. It's part of a whole body, your whole body system. It's connected to your breath, your spine, your fascia, which is the connective tissue that everything is suspended and everything is communicated with through. Even your emotional state, this is huge, emotional state. So we treat it like, so when we treat it like it's separate, and even for me to explain it to you now, I'm stumbling because it's just so ludicrous in my mind to work with your pelvic floor as an isolated thing, like it's a broken gear that just needs oiling. We're kind of missing the bigger opportunity for lasting change. That's part of questioning in this way is part of what got me started down this path, because I wanted to understand how to support not just the whole body, but the whole person, not just one muscle group. So, in that case, I made that decision. I wanted to know more and investigate more. And that's what led me to create the whole body pelvic health method. And that's about working with your entire system, your body, your breath, your brain, and yes, your pelvic floor, and not only your pelvic floor. It's based on biotensegrity. And this is relatively new science that helps us understand how our body is an interconnected structure, not a pile of parts, one stacked on the other, like you can just take one out and replace it for another. So when we restore your posture, the habits of movement, we call it the movement patterns, and your internal awareness, your ability to feel yourself, your pelvic floor can function naturally again without having to constantly do your exercises. The number of women that say, oh, yes, I'm doing my exercises, but it's not actually sufficient. Your body restores function the way it is designed to do when you have all of those pieces put together. It's designed, literally designed to heal itself. Sometimes it needs help to reboot, and that's where the whole body pelvic health method comes in. It also works with the nervous system, because so many of the women that I work with feel disconnected or even fearful of their bodies, of anything potentially making it worse. There might be trauma, shame, or just literally years and years of not being heard. Speaking but not being heard. Speaking but not being listened to. So, whole body pelvic health creates safety, a feeling of safety in your own body and your mind, so that you can truly heal. And maybe, I guess, my favorite part, although I'm terrible, I'm one of these people that says, this is my favorite, this is my favorite. Anyway, everything can't be my favorite. But maybe my favorite part is this method really helps you to connect with your sense of self. You're not just fixing a leak or dealing with prolapse. You're reclaiming your strength, your inner strength, your identity, your power. And when I say strength, I'm not kind of meaning like biceps, pelvic floor strength, muscle strength. I mean your personal autonomy, your real womanness, if that's even a word. And that womanness has come up so much for me personally because I felt so it felt so connected to me, my sense of womanness, the ability to rely on my pelvic floor. And it's not a quick fix, and it is a lasting one. And for me, that's hugely, hugely important. I know so many of you have said to me, oh, my mum's got prolapse, or my granny has prolapse, or my mum's incontinence, and it's just so awful. And you're looking ahead thinking, I don't want to be in that situation. And that's one of the reasons why we have to remember that those traditional strength-based exercises that you're recommended to do are not going to give you that lasting support that you need, because it's like a plaster, a band-aid, a quick, you know, it's not a sustainable fix. It's not one that's going to help your body really get to the root cause and work on that. So this is the whole body pelvic health method, and I created an entire membership around this method, guiding you through. And so I thought, well, I can share what the method is, but maybe you might actually want to see, well, how does that actually work in reality? Yeah, okay, I'm with you, Claire. I know, I believe you. I understand. Yes, it does not make sense to just do these isolated exercises, but what am I going to do? So you can join, you can come and sign it. There's loads of free stuff. I want to get everybody, all women, give lots of people access. So there's loads and loads of free stuff. You'll see it on the app. If you download the app, like I mentioned before, you can do a free 7-day trial. But this is what it is. It's a space where you can learn and apply this method at your own pace, with my ongoing support. And I'm kind of smiling and laughing as I say that, because those of you that know me might think perhaps I have a slight controlling tendency, not in a bad way, but I just want to make sure that everybody's following through that commitment that they've made to themselves, that you're doing the thing, that we take away all the difficulties. There's always barriers to entry, isn't there, with things, and I constantly try and take those away to make it as easy as possible for you to work on your pelvic health. So I like to be there and support you every month with live classes, but that's just side note. So you start with the foundations. So if you start with squeezing your pelvic floor, and your pelvic floor is already super tight, then really that's not going to help you. So we start with breath work. We make sure we're realigning your body, so getting your posture so that the diaphragms can align with one another and you can communicate. Your breath and your pelvic floor can communicate. We also do nervous system regulation. And these things might seem super basic and super simple, and they're total game changers. So then you choose the pathway that fits your symptoms. If you have prolapse, we work on restoring lift and support through movements and integrity. So it's not just about your pelvic floor lifting up. You've got inside tendons and ligaments and muscles on the inside that need to pull up from above. You're not just expecting like the gusset of you to hold everything up. We need things to be pulled up from above. So if you've got round shoulders, forwards head, you're compressing down on your pelvic floor. So the organ is being pressed down from above, and we need to lift you up so that it helps to lift the organ up from above. Equally, if you've got really tight pelvic floor muscles and you've got prolapse, you're strangling and squeezing that organ, and that's not ideal either. But anyway, honestly, I wasn't going to talk about prolapse today because we have Prolapse Awareness Month coming in June. This is a huge month. I absolutely love it because I can shout from the rooftops about prolapse, what it actually is. And so anyway, watch this space about prolapse. So The other pathway you can choose is if you're dealing with incontinence, which is very, very common, and there is a lot we can do about it because we retrain the reflexes, pressure management, the responsiveness and timing of your pelvic floor. There's no use in just squeezing because that doesn't relate to how you need it for a cough or a sneeze. The other one that's becoming more prevalent isn't kind of the word. It's more that women are becoming more aware of hypertonic pelvic floor. So if you have a hypertonic, that means overactive or tight pelvic floor muscles. So if you make a fist with your hand right now, this is where you are. If you're already with a tight pelvic floor and then you go, okay, I've got to squeeze it, it's got nowhere to go. Your pelvic floor has to lengthen out. So if you open your fist out, stretch your hand, then it has the capacity to clench in. It's so simple, but when are we ever told that? So we focus on releasing, softening, mobilizing the pelvic floor and the pelvis and calming your nervous system down so that you can reset, so that your body can heal itself. So that's the kind of pathways that most people find they need to follow. And then we have monthly live classes that are suitable for absolutely everyone. And then we also have additional Q&A time. I love Q&A time because in Q&A, a bit like the Pelvic Health Cafe, it's collective. It's not necessarily just about me answering questions, but it's about sharing your wins. It's about demonstrating a movement and going, Claire, is this right? Is this the way I'm meant to do this? And then I can give you feedback. And it's just a beautiful community of women, along with all the other bonuses, meditations, resources, yada, yada, yada. And it's not about following a strict plan like download the Squeezy app and do this at this time and this at this time and stop at the traffic lights. And every time you do this, do that. It's about finding what works for you and really, really knowing that you're not alone. So here's the thing. This is for all women. You don't need to wait even for a diagnosis to start this work. If something doesn't feel quite right, you're leaking, you're feeling pressure, or even if you're just feeling a bit disconnected from your body, this method is for you. It's for women in their 30s, 60s, 80s. It's for new mums, grandmums, athletes, desk workers. This is about your quality of life and how supported and confident you feel in your body. Pelvic health is lifelong, and your body really deserves that level of care, that kind of care, whatever stage, literally, of life you're that you're at. So if you've been doing all the right things and still not seeing progress, or if you're ready to finally take a whole body approach, I invite you to join us in the membership. You can even sign up for free for 7 days, no obligation, just dive in and start a class, and you'll get the structure, the support, and the method that really honors your body and not works against it. You don't have to settle. You're not broken. You're also not alone, and you're meant to thrive. So until next time, you can always ask for more from your pelvic floor, and I'm your voice of hope to help you along the way. And don't forget, if you simply want to get into community and talk with other like-minded women and find that collective power, you can join me free on Friday the 23rd of May, 6 p.m. UK time, for our monthly Pelvic Health Cafe. Thank you for joining me today on Hope for Your Pelvic Floor. If this episode sparked something for you, a question, a realization, or even just a sigh of relief, know that you're not alone. And if you're not meant to settle, there is so much more possible for your body. If you're ready to take the next step, explore the Whole Body Pelvic Health membership. It's your space for guidance, support, and practical tools tailored to your unique pelvic floor needs, from prolapse to incontinence to hypertonic muscles and everything in between. You can find all our links below or head over to wholebodypelvichealth.co.uk. And remember, you can always ask for more for your pelvic floor. Bye everyone, and see you in our next episode.